For millions around the world, the simplest tasks like getting out of bed or lifting the sheet or even just being upright mean debilitating fatigue. It's the result of a disease that is not only difficult to describe, but doctors are often unable to diagnose it. For sufferers, chronic fatigue is quite simply a nightmare.
I wake up every day of my life and it doesn't matter how many hours I've slept. I still feel tired.
In Fourways, Johannesburg, Natalie Williams has moved back into her mom's home. She'd love nothing better than to get out and go to work or take her dogs for a walk. But in the 26th year of living with myalgic encephalomyelitis or chronic fatigue syndrome, she can't.
I hate the term chronic fatigue syndrome because, first of all, fatigue that doesn't even come close to describing what it is. And second of all, it's a minor symptom really compared to the other stuff.
Natalie would pay a high price for pushing through with this hour-long interview. They call it the push-crash cycle. Crippling pain, debilitating brain fog. In ME, it's called post-exertional malaise. Like the worst influenza, it kicks in after a day or so. For some, triggered by lifting the sheets on their bed. For Natalie, being upright.
Anytime you're upright, your heart has to pump more blood around the body. And also our hearts don't pump blood properly. I start to sweat, I feel dizzy and I feel nauseous. That's why I've now got a wheelchair, which I use if I have to go out.
Imagine you get 10 spoons of energy for the entire day. 1 to get out of bed and get to work, 3 for work, 4 for children. If you have ME, it may take 5 spoons just to get out of bed and brush your teeth.
ME became known from the 1980s as yuppie flu and has had a bad reputation for being all in the head. Many still doubt it's real, but the World Health Organization says over 17 million people from any age and race have it. 90% of those with ME are undiagnosed. Around 5 to 10% are set to recover.
Suicide is the leading cause of death amongst people with ME, and I can totally understand that. Will they find a cure? Will I get better? Will I get worse? Those are the questions I try not to ask.
In San Francisco, California, lives a family whose ME story has become a global rallying point for one of the biggest ever drives to find the cause and the cure. In his 30s, Whitney Defoe is a photographer and world traveler. But by 2013, it hurt too much to speak. Only his parents now enter his room, but if they touch or talk to him, he'll crash. His father is Dr. Ron Davis.
How long did it take before your son was diagnosed with ME?
It took a few years. He went to, 20, 30 doctors. All of them said, there's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head.
Coincidentally, Ron Davis is a celebrated geneticist and professor of biochemistry at Stanford University who's been called one of the world's greatest living inventors. His biotech methods helped launch the field of genome mapping. But now he's changed professional gears, racing to find a cure in time to help his son.
The difficulty with the disease is if you do sort of standard medical tests and you look for liver function and kidney function and so forth, the patients look pretty normal, although they can't do very much. It's only when you use sort of the latest technologies, the high-throughput sequencing, the gene expression studies. And when you do that, you see, oh my gosh, these people are very seriously ill.
The lack of a defining biomarker and treatments have caused doctors to dismiss it as psychosomatic. Supplements that help some are not covered by medical aid. And then in 2011, the multi-million-pound UK PACE trial announced in the respected Lancet journal that exercise and psychotherapy were best for treating ME. UC Berkeley's Joint Public Health and Journalism Coordinator, Dr. David Tuller, investigated claims that you just have to go for a walk and think happy thoughts.
There's many flaws in the study, and the patients had really pointed them all out before I started looking at it.
But right at the very beginning, when the results were published, what kind of impact did it have?
Well, Well, it had a very big impact because these are very well-known psychiatrists, psychologists, other medical professionals. And so they had been basically promoting these two therapies for many years before they actually did the trial.
Late last year, the PACE trial researchers were compelled to release their raw data after an Australian ME patient had submitted a Freedom of Information request in Britain. Turns out, the study had included fatigued people who may not have had the full extent of ME.
What did the publishing of those results do to an already confused landscape?
They perpetuated a real misunderstanding around the world about what the illness is, that it's a physiological disease. It's not about, I don't feel like getting out of bed today. It's like I physically cannot move my body to get out of bed today because I made myself a cup of coffee yesterday.
As debilitating and isolating as ME is, the internet has become a connector, linking those living with the disease.
Patients and PACE trial researchers continue to cross swords, but the researchers defend their work and are expanding their inquiry into online psychotherapy in adolescents with ME. The patient community staged an on- and offline revolt as the PACE message took root in treatment guidelines around the world. Demanding funding for research, they organized global protests for everyone who's been missing from life due to ME.
My brother is severely ill. Every day he lies in his bed fighting to stay alive while at the same time waiting for death. And we need the government to get involved and give us the funding that we need so that we can come up with a cure.
She first started having symptoms in her late 20s, and she's now been in bed for 7 years.
It's so hard to stand by and see our loved ones suffer.
They spend more money in the States on researching male pattern baldness than they do on ME, and this is a disease that can be fatal.
Natalie joined an online support group that was started by Joburg-based Retha Viviers. The expanding group is a safe place to share baffling symptoms.
It's a lonely illness. I mean, I speak to my dogs. That's my company. Comparing ME tiredness with healthy people's tiredness is like comparing a match to an atom bomb. There is no comparison. You will have flu symptoms, throat will be sore, your body will ache, your brain will be completely dead.
A business graduate, Retha spends her few spoons of energy in between sleeping to source credible information and funds to help patients made destitute by ME.
It's like a cell phone battery that's defective, and you have to recharge it very often, and you can't use it while it's being charged. You know, you run out of funds because I had to stop working, and then you have to stop treatment.
Retha is fighting to break the stigma she faced when she lost everything. She's inviting doctors to engage with the foundation she started to learn about the latest science and asking the public to get involved with funding.
It would be very sad for people to commit suicide now or to lose hope now, because never before has there been so much hope. Professor Ron Davis says that they have done more in 1 year than the past 30 years. The other hope for South Africa, in my humble view, is the foundation, because I believe we can change so many lives, getting funds, getting people diagnosed, getting symptomatic treatment to them, forming a community, getting care facilities in place. So people mustn't lose hope now.
Symptoms that may signal ME include prolonged unrefreshing sleep, post-exertional malaise, cognitive impairment, literally losing words or numbers, insomnia, muscle and joint pain, frequent headaches, sore throat and lymph nodes, and intolerance to being upright, to light, sound, touch, and chemicals.
There's a metabolic switch that happens when you are under extreme stress. It could be an insult like an auto accident, surgery, an infection. That causes your body to sort of hunker down and shut down. It's probably somewhat related to how animals can hibernate.
Davis has teamed up with a group including 3 Nobel laureates to raise funds to fast-track the search for a cure. Open Medicine Foundation CEO Linda Tannenbaum's daughter has ME. For her, the collaboration of scientists that usually work for their own career advancement is the game changer.
Typically, you wait for a paper to be published, and then whoever sees it, sees it. Instead, we're going to encourage people all over the world to look at the results. And I think that's really the top reason that open medicine has a lot of hope for people.
We'll find a biomarker. I'm pretty convinced a lot of people are looking for it.
But unlike other researchers, your son is a daily reminder of why we need to move faster with the research.
And also why you worry about every day, what have you done today to make it get us closer?